A tumultuous race at Hockenheim left drivers with some in-depth discussions as well as some serious introspection. Though tempers have cooled and many seem to have worked things out, this piece will be tested at the season's only street course race. We'll see if the lessons from before will stick as we get ready to watch round 5 of the PRL Indy Pro 2000 series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Long Beach saw a stunning race at the start of last season, but in case any of our viewers missed it, we have a handy track guide to introduce you to the circuit. Welcome to Hockenheim. Located just an hour away from the border of France, this is a German track whose nature has changed drastically over its history. Once an eye-watering blast through long straights in the forest, it has since been truncated to its current form. Welcome to Long Beach. Nestled into the south side of Los Angeles and running alongside the Pacific Ocean, this street circuit has made the port area world famous. Both Formula One and IndyCar have called this 2-mile, 11-turn circuit home. Winning here has become a prestige worth boasting about among open-wheel pilots. Indeed, the winners list includes the likes of Lauda, Andretti, Unser, Montoya, Power, and many other legendary names in racing. Much like its European sister over in Monaco, it's short, tight, and punishing. But unlike Monte Carlo, this circuit emerged from a rundown piece of California coast to grow into the glamorous location it is today. Down into Turn 1 at the end of Shoreline Drive is where the majority of overtakes tend to be made. But sneaky passes can also pop up in places like 6 on the way into Pine Avenue, or Turn 9 at the end of Seaside Way. There's also 2 distinctive landmarks notorious for causing track blockages. The fountain section, with all its beauty, is a single-file affair save for the first lap. And the hairpin has been a staple here, even though it's changed locations a few times. In fact, that last hairpin not only includes the dangers of getting tangled with another car, but the important nature of getting the best exit you can to keep your rival from having a chance to pass you into the first corner. It feels appropriate that California's signature street track is a hop, skip, and a jump away from the beach. But while others might be trying to attack the surf, our drivers today will be attacking the corners instead. Well, DJ, this place is often compared as sort of the Monaco of America, with it being a street course and kind of the crown jewel of street races here in the States.
It certainly is, Joe, and much like Monaco, you can't talk about Long Beach without talking about the world infamous hairpin to start off the main straightaway. Now, that is going to be an area of contention the whole race long. It is such a tricky corner trying to make that left-handed sweeper through Indy left and get onto the brakes to dial it up just right. Drivers are especially going to have to be careful at the start of the race, as there may even be some drivers that start behind there when the green flag falls. But throughout the rest of the track, your best overtaking zone is going to be down into Turn 1 and also off of the backstretch off of Seaside Way, but those passes aren't going to be easy. The tricky areas like the fountain right after Turn 1 mean that you have got to make that pass stick, and you cannot try to fight back on it. Now, the interesting thing that I have seen over the course of some practice here from these Indy Pro 2000 drivers is that the turn going from Pine Avenue onto Seaside Way, I've seen a lot of drivers cutting those curbs a little bit and getting very, very close to the wall. So it's clearly gaining them a couple of tenths of a second, but it is removing the area that they have to make a mistake.
Well, it certainly will take precision here to be fast, but before we get to the racing, we want to remind you that today's race is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SimMSA.net.
The PRL Indy Pro 2000 series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. So as the championship continues, David Holland has been racking up the wins, and as you'd expect, he's leading the points right now, about 6 over Christoph Herbino currently, who lacks any wins, and Alessandro Di Tullio, who won the first race of the season, has slipped back to third. Connor Wagner is currently in fourth, and Frank Nguyen only a single point behind him, tussling for that fourth place. What about the AM Championship?
Well, Joe, it is just as tight in that AM championship, with Nick Horvath only 5 points ahead of Hugo Galaz, despite the fact that Nick has only had one top 5 performance in the AM category this entire season. But he has just been absolutely consistent throughout. Behind them, Dave Peterson only 11 points back, and Tyler Scaraldi only 4 points back from him. So very, very all up to play for that first place position. But Nick Barrett there sitting back in 5th. He is 26 points back and 11 points back from Tyler Scaraldi, so a little bit more work for him to do.
And Nick, of course, helping out with the team's championship, as he's a part of that AliceLight.com Britannia iSports team. But they've got a ways to go to get up to Delta Sport U4K. They've been dominant this season already, and we're just hitting the halfway mark now. But look at third, a tie between Uragon Racing and NinjaTrader Esports. So that's going to be interesting to see who comes out ahead of that one today, if they don't remain tied, which would be impressive in itself. And then a single point splitting Andy's Racing and Delta Sport driven Texas. The Delta Sport team in general has been a force to be reckoned with so far this season. DJ, why don't you give us a bit of a heads up on the race details?
Well, Joe, we're hitting the halfway point of the 5th of 10 rounds here in this Indy Pro 2000 Championship, and we are set for a 36-lap or 45-minute race, whatever comes first. And a little bit different than some of our viewers may notice is we've got a 30-minute qualifying session. The organizers choosing to give drivers plenty of time to get a good, clean lap in. Now, as it is every week, though, we are having open setups today, so drivers are able to tweak and tune these cars to whatever they do. And like we've heard a lot of these guys talking about, that's really where the team game comes into play. These drivers working together to try to create their best setups. Now, normally we talk about the low incident limits in this series, but well, because it's a street track, I don't think we're going to really have a whole lot of running afoul of incident limits here, because if you get into an incident around Long Beach, you are, well, out of the race and in the wall. But there are bonus points available as well, and if this tight championship continues to be as tight as it is, rest assured those bonus points are going to be very important for pole, fastest lap, and 3 incidents or less.
Di Tullio's got the bonus right now for pole, but it's by 0.5 of a second over Christoph Herbin, who I just saw duck into pit lane, maybe trying to get some fresh tires and get back out to see if he can finally run one that little bit quicker. This is Dave Peterson sitting in 24th right now, and the number 35. Not our highest AM driver, though. That belongs to Ethan Oring, currently in the number 4. He's currently 17th overall.
He is indeed. We'll watch Dave, though, as he makes his way through that hairpin like I talked about there. You see just how close those walls are, just how tricky it is. And Joe, you mentioned tires, something we're going to have to keep in mind here, because it is very, very chilly out on this track surface, only 75 degrees. So these tires are going to take a minute to get up to temperature. It's really going to cause a problem, I think, especially in the early laps when we get racing.
Di Tullio's been doing pretty good with these poles so far. He's got 2 of the 4. And he can make it 3 of 5 if he can just hold on for another 4 minutes. This is Norris, currently in 18th. Actually, I believe 2nd on the AM charts right now. Let's see if he can go quicker than that 15.3. And no, he's about a 10th off that time by. So yet again, he cycles his way back around to see what he can make out of this. Let's see who else of our front runners are going to be coming by, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of them out on track currently. I think the next one up in the top 10 that should be cycling through is Fishman, who sits in 6th.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on some of our leading drivers. Herbino's been popping in and out of the pits. There you see Tyler Scarelli able to improve, jump up to 27th position. But Herbino and a couple of the Delta Sport guys popping in and out of the pits. I think they maybe just been waiting for some clear track.
There's Fishman now in the 4.55. He's given a tow to Ovando, who messed up that last lap. And looks like that time not going to be quicker for Fishman, so he keeps going on around. Here's our pole sitter one more time. Andy Spicer's behind him, the AM driver, trying to as well pull a little bit of a slipstream. The number 20 runs at 1:15.2. That's well off of his quickest pace.
It is, but you may have noticed there just how close Tulio was to the wall on the exit of the hairpin as we watched Donald Olson not able to improve there. That is really, really a testament to just how comfortable Alessandro feels around this circuit. You see a lot of guys very, very cautious around there, trying to bring the car off the wall as much as possible. Tulio knows in order to maximize speed, you've got to get nice and up close to it. Ooh, Mark McDonald doing the same there.
If you brush the wall, it does discount your lap, so you can't actually touch the wall. And this one's a 16.2 for McDonald, so that is not going to matter whether he touched it or not, because that was not quicker. Joey Haynes up next in the number 99. He's getting a nice pull behind another driver, but it's not going to be enough because it looks like that may have been an outlap for him.
And here comes our third place driver, Connor Wagner. Let's see what he's got in store. Not going to be faster there for Connor, about 4/10 off of his pace. Dave Menino not able to improve. A little bit closer to his best time, though, only 2/10 off.
I do worry about the number of cars that we have here today, more because it's not that long of a lap. And last round, where we had a huge field, Hockenheim caused a lot of headaches among drivers with the lap traffic. Here, well, there's nowhere to hide, DJ.
There really, really isn't, and there were really only 2 good overtaking zones on the entire circuit that I mentioned at the top, turn 1 and going down off of Seaside Way. So drivers are going to have to be creative in the way they get around lap traffic. It could really, really cause a big kerfluffle for these guys here today.
Ooh, and I just saw an interesting maneuver. Raymond Day really, really backed up the final hairpin. He's sitting in 7th. He just started a new lap, and that looked like that was his outlap. So I'm wondering if he's trying to use every inch he can. That is fair game. He can go wide there if he desires. Oh, well, he's going to spin it into the first corner, so it's a moot point.
Yeah, it's not exactly going to work there for him, but I think that is a good strategy. Oh, Connor Wagner only a 10th or so off of his best time. Let's see what Aaron Roofs has. He's currently 25th. Not going to be able to improve on that lap. Tantalizingly close, though. That looks like an outlap there for Andy Spicer.
Yep, that one's slow and didn't count. Tyler Gore going to be next. Only 2 counted laps so far. We're used to seeing him much farther up the order. And looks like he just started a new lap, so he'll get one more shot at finishing this final flyer. Horvath, as he crosses the line, does not go quicker, unfortunately. Hugo Galaz, the next one up in the number 500, as he takes it down and across well down the order in 27th right now, and that's not going to be faster. Up next, Mark McDonald, a 15.2. That's his quickest, and that puts him into 16th.
Here comes Scarali across the line right now. Let's see what Tyler has. Oh, tantalizingly close there, about 0.09 of a second off of his best. Here comes Ethan Lampa, or excuse me, that's Ovando coming across the line now. Yeah,
Lamp was a slow one, so he ducked away. Ovando, that's not going to be any quicker. Up next, looks like Ethan Oring, unfortunately, had that lap discounted, so he is done for the day. Who do we have coming across the line still? I see Tyler Gore, and he should be our last one. Can he go faster than that 16.9? He should be well up the order compared to what we're used to seeing here, and it's a 16.4. He starts 36, a nightmare scenario for the number 7.
That is going to be oh so very tricky there for Tyler Gore. Really, really down the order, and he is going to be in a big type of danger zone as this track gets very congested.
Absolutely. So we'll let the rest of the clock tick through, then we'll go through our starting order. Interestingly, DJ, you were saying that they've elected to start double file despite that hairpin there.
They have said they would like to see drivers go double file through that hairpin, but emphasize to everyone to please, please, please be careful as they go through there. Specifically telling drivers who are going to be starting on the outside to really take it as wide as possible to give as much room as they can.
Hopefully that doesn't cause the problems even before we get to the green flag itself proper, because again, 40 cars here today. In fact, possibly 41 or 42 I'm seeing that have signed up. If that full field does get out there in a minute 15 lap, that means just about every 2 seconds you're going to see them. So our grid starts with DeTulio on the pole. Christoph Herbeno starts in second, and Connor Wagner in P3. David Holland will be fourth, and Ethan Lampy in P5. David Fishman starts sixth with Dave Menino in seventh, and to his outside it's Raymond Day. Frank Nguyen starting ninth, and Alex Fournier rounding out your top 10.
In 11th will be Julio Palacio, followed by Stephen Verity. Rafael Ovando line up behind them in row 7, and Sebastian Merrier behind them outside of him. Adam Wright will be to the inside of row 8, and his outside will be Mark McDonald. Owen McLaughlin will line up in 17th, followed by Ethan Oring in 18th, and Caven Norris and Christopher Richards will round out your top 20.
Dave Peterson, good enough for 21st, followed by Joey Haynes in 22nd. Inside of the next row, it's Michael Broomhead with Sean Duhamel to his outside. Aaron Roof starts in 25th. You've got Tyler Scarali in 26th, and Hugo Galaz on the inside of row 14. Neil Alexander to his right. Brett Accord starts 29th, and Nick Horvath will be 30th.
In 31st, this is going to be Matthew Gunderson, followed by Barry Cochran. Takeshi Kita is going to line up 33rd with Nicholas Colander on his outside. Then in row 18, it's Andy Spicer and Tyler Gore, followed by Donald Olson and Daniel Barnett in row 19. David Hebert will be 39th, followed by Gonzalo Munoz in 40th.
Brett Barrett and James Doherty are the last of our 42-car field as they now take off behind the pace car. DeTulio grabs another bonus point and another pole to his name. And already the top drivers are going pretty single file here. They're going to have to get racked up pretty soon. DeTulio tries to check them up to bring them together. Those behind, as you said, having to go very, very wide to get through that tight corner. The green flag is out. It's a very good start for the 20 already. We've got a challenge between Herbeno and Wagner for that second place. Cars getting a good tow behind them, including Holland and Lampy. Most of them getting off to the right side. I'm thinking they don't want to mess with this first corner too much as they all slot down into there. The track narrows into this left-hand corner. So far, so good, but there's still plenty of cars to pile in.
There are indeed. I'm keeping an eye through the back of the field. Ooh, a little bit of a brake lock up going into the fountain, but I don't think there's any major damage. Oh no, we've got
track
a big
blockage.
One.
Yeah, it looks like Horvath in there. I thought I saw Barnett, Accord. Unfortunately, Andy Spicer. Looks like many of them were able to come to a halt first, but they were cost a lot of time having to wait for things to clear up in front of them. Could have been a lot worse. We'll go back to it in a bit, but Alessandro DeTulio now gapping Herbeno by about 7/10 here in the first half of the lap. Herbeno still trying to play defense on Wagner, who sits third.
And Joe, as we are so used to seeing, it is an absolute host of Delta Sport drivers behind DeTulio. That is all Delta Sport in 2, 3, 4, and 5. So very, very much of a swarm coming up that white machine of Alessandro DeTulio.
Not too surprised. It's been like that for much of the season so far. You can see the drivers definitely pull each other along over this front stretch down Shoreline Drive. All of them getting awful close to the exit wall coming through the first corner. We now hop on board with the number 92, trying to see if he can chase down his teammate.
Indeed, that is DeTulio up ahead of him, seeing what he can do. And let's see as he gets his way through these corners, Joe. Oh, you can see just how tight they have to take it to try to maximize as much as they can. Now, let's see who chooses to cut this corner like I was talking about. There you see Herbino taking a good chunk out of it. Oh, I think that was Wagner in the wall.
Ooh. Let me go check that and see if he did actually touch. If he did, it was a very, very slight nudge to the outside. So I think he might be okay for now. As they come around the hairpin, this is the corner that everybody wants the best exit possible, getting onto the throttle, accelerating away. But DeTulio has got this thing under control once again, keeping Christoph back by about 3/4 of a second. Let's take a look at that replay of the start if we can, because it looks like they've kind of settled in at the front of the field. See if we can dissect what exactly started this.
Right, so as we jump back here, there you can see, ooh, even in front and behind, that is Galaz there, spinned around, so we're going to focus on Hugo right here. Looks like he's able to get through, a little bit of a log jam in front of him. Oh, there was a lock up there. I believe that is, that may have been, it's one of the Oregon drivers. I think that it was the 87 of Wright.
Oof. And I also see Broomhead was held up in there as well. So, yeah, he was with the bright green rims that you saw briefly. A number of people, unfortunately, disadvantaged. Oh, Connor Wagner just went wide, coming through the penultimate corner, and that's going to allow David Holland, our winner of the last 3 rounds, to get himself onto the podium.
I don't know how he managed to hold on to that car, Joe. Wagner did, as it was a full skid.
Let's take a look at it. Yeah, I mean, a fantastic job. Most times, the advice given to drivers is to take the escape road, but he did not, and still managed to come away without damage. Let's see here. Oh, I think he recognized it early as the saving grace there.
Yeah, it looked like he just took a little bit too much speed through the Firestone turn there and just was able to gather it back up, steer into the skid as it were. But I've got to say, Joe, I've been keeping an eye on that number 51 of Connor Wagner. That thing looks absolutely on rails, almost to the point of out of control. A very, very loose car for Wagner.
We're going to watch from behind him. This is Ethan Lampe. He'll have a great perspective. Tell us if this is a loose car or not. Certainly taking it right up to the edge of the track itself there. Coming onto the backstretch. And as they once again brake hard, having to take it right down. Whoa, and it's instead Lampe who looks a little loose.
Well, Joe, I said it at the top. These teams like to share setups, so it may be a situation where all of these Delta Sport drivers are running a little bit loose and everybody's just having their problems at different laps.
You have an interesting train happening back in 14th, just behind our AM leader. Sebastian Merriere, who's one of our pro drivers, had Ovando, Peterson, and McLaughlin right underneath them, but you can see here now that they've come on onto the front stretch. Looks like the hairpin spread them out. Let's see if they come back together through the rest of the course.
Let's see, indeed. A little bit of a look to the inside. There is Ovando. I don't think that was a real move. That's just a little bit of a head fake, seeing if he can get Merriere to bite any at all. Everybody nice and clean through the fountain section. It looks like not nearly as tight as they were at this section on the last lap, but still definitely within striking range if one of these drivers makes a mistake.
I mentioned earlier, this is behind our AM leader. It's Ethan Oring right now into 12th, who started this race from 18th, so he's gained a lot of spots. And there you see the number 4, as that is Mark McDonald, who I think he just overtook recently, so gained yet another position. Ooh, Sebastian might be under attack here. He looks slow in a straight line, and Ovando is right behind him. Look at him stay defensive down at the end of the back stretch, and Rafael showing just how tough it is to overtake here.
Very, very good defense there from Sebastian. A little bit of a brake lock up in front of them. Let's see if anybody can get a good jump off the corner. Ooh, no. Ovando did not get going as well as he would have liked to. I think a little bit of wheel spin coming off there may have just been a little over-eager on the throttle.
But it does seem like that 25 does not have the straight line speed, because once again, here comes Rafael. The 48 backs out of it. Doesn't have enough of a run, but he keeps gaining whenever the cars truly get up to speed. Peterson closing down, though, here under some of the slower parts of the circuit in the 35 just behind him.
Yeah, most certainly. I was going to say that these guys have got to be careful not to allow for Peterson and McLaughlin to draw too close into them. And there you see a little bit, Joe, I think your theory's right. That is a very, very top-line limited car, because look at the gap that Merriere is able to pull out during the slower sections of this track. Now, that was a good exit there from Ovando. Let's see if he can do anything.
He's gaining, but each time Sebastian keeps defending the inside. Now he comes back to the racing line, and none of them able to change positions. Peterson chucking that thing in, though. Definitely slid it through the corner, but no harm, no foul. This is where everybody's trying so hard to get that throttle down, but every single time, just like real life, what we see with the Indy cars, DJ, it just spreads them out.
It really does, and watching Ovando's line there, he's got the right idea. He's taking a wider apex, getting very aggressive here. He crosses over, dives to the inside. He's going to try a move into turn one. Later on the brakes is Ovando. He's got it gathered up and move him up a spot.
There we go. So that is an early overtake for today. Haven't seen a whole lot of them on screen, but it is possible. Just certainly have to be aggressive. Let's check in on our leaders, because Christoph Urbano has been keeping this at about 3 to 4 tenths behind DeTulio. Now he's backed off to about 5 tenths now, but again, he's been staying, keeping the pressure on to that number 20 recently. So not sure if maybe Alessandro backing it up, or if Christoph is turning the wick up.
I think it's a little bit of Christoph turning the wick up. I'm looking at their last and fastest laps here. DeTulio's best and last lap in the 114.9s. Urbano down in the 114.8s. Those are the fastest laps we've seen from anybody in the field, so I think it is really just a matter of Urbano's pace being absolutely electric.
I think we may have had what could be another DNF. Christopher Richards has hit the wall. I'm trying to figure out where this happened, because oh my goodness, he's been limping this car around for nearly half the lap. He hit it coming out of turn 5, and I think he's nearly missing a tire, and the 49 is still trying to work his way back to the pits. This is actually a bit of a danger.
It really is. That car is not operating at its peak performance right now. That's just a technical opinion. But very impressive he's able to get it around. But I've got to say, oh, this is where you don't want to be, with guys coming through the hairpin with that damage to the car.
Can he even turn left? Kind of. Oh, there he goes. Okay. I was afraid maybe he'd have to pull a K-turn there, and he is going to be able to make it back in, but he does not have a spare car, remember, so he's basically going to have to replace that entire suspension.
Yeah, that'll definitely be a couple of seconds there in the pits stationary for him.
In 6, David Fishman being chased by both Menino and Day on the front stretch. Raymond just not getting what he needs, but Menino looks quite close here. This could be a good shot for that orange and white machine as they start to hit 150 miles an hour. Fishman not defending yet. Menino ducking to the inside. Can he get the overlap? Yes, he can, and he's going to move himself into 6th.
That was a very late but well-timed move there from Dave Menino, and exactly how it's done. So he is able to jump up into that 6th place position, and it looks like Raymond Day looking very racy as well, now starting to put the power to Fishman.
I think something must have happened to our AM leader. Ethan Oring is in the pits, and this is way longer than a scheduled stop. So the 4 seems to have had an issue. I didn't see severe damage from my vantage point, but we'll have to check on him later as we now hop on board with Raymond Day, currently sitting in 8th, see if he can demote Fishman one more. For those wondering, Dave Peterson now moves into the lead of the AM class.
Indeed, and able to catch up a little bit. There is Raymond Day, very close through the hairpin. Let's see what he can do. Oh, as a big checkup, carried a little bit too much speed into that corner.
Yeah, it looked like he just almost got into the back of David Fishman. That's cost him about half a second, no longer right on that gearbox. Oh, and Herbino has just lost a position to Holland. David Holland on the charge, up from 4th to 3rd, now 3rd to 2nd.
Holland, just as you said, really wanting to move up here. Good draft down that curving front straightaway, dives out to the inside. These two are teammates, so probably a little bit of radio communication between the two saying, I'm coming through. But very clearly, David Holland's got a lot of speed as he has had throughout the course of the season.
Now, it's one thing to be let by a teammate who is not in the lead, but when he gets up to DeTulio, I'm not sure if it's going to be the same story, since these are the two that are fighting for the championship right now amongst them, and Alessandro really needs to strike back.
He most certainly does, and right now he is able to hold this out pretty well. The gap holding pretty at just over a second, but now this is really Holland's first lap in full clean air, so let's see what he is able to do.
Behind them, you can see a little bit of a close race amongst some of the other Delta Sport drivers. That's between Lampe and Wagner. Connor just not having a good one at this stage. He's down to 4th. Looks like as we watch the top drivers weave off of Shoreline Drive, no attempt made amongst those three behind. So they're going to stay in order with Herbino 3rd, Wagner 4th, and Lampe in 5th.
Yeah, everybody keeping it relatively calm just to keep an eye on this. So as they've gone through the slower sections of the track, it looks like DeTulio is able to pull out a little bit more, bringing that gap back up. But now Holland, through those last two corners, is able to bring it back down to about 9/10 of a second. So they are just absolutely seesawing times here.
Just about a third of the way through this thing. Oh, I think Wagner might have a position. Herbino also going to let him by once again. And this absolutely looked like team tactics to me, because he did not fight this at all.
No, he didn't. I wonder if something is wrong with Christoph Herbino. That 2 spots we've seen him drop down, not really what I would expect out of the driver of the number 92, but right on board with Lampe here. Is he maybe going to have a move on his teammate as well? He's certainly got the run. Little bit of a defensive move there from Herbino, but he's going to let Lampe, I think, through, and yes, indeed. Oh, their contact!
Oh, he tips his teammate into the wall. Big damage on the machine as the rear wing scatters its way into the escape road, and Lampe takes a tow.
Oh, we were just talking about how well these guys communicate within the team, and I think that was Lampe just not exactly getting fully clear of his teammate, and now he has just got to hope that Christoph Herbino doesn't have any front wing damage.
Now we're watching the fight between Fishman and Day. This is still for the 6th place battle. This is the 92, though.
Yeah, just a little bit on the right there, Joe. You can see that upper level just looks a little pinched up there, so I think there could be a fraction of wing damage.
So that could be costly, especially when the pit stops come, because you can't, if you come into the pits, you can't control whether or not you take that extra wing, so that will slow him down as DeTulio gets another bonus point, at least temporarily, taking the fastest lap of the race. That can be stolen right back, but he's got about a 10th over Holland. Holland's quickest to 14.7.
Indeed, Holland's going to be really trying to see what he can do, though. He does not want DeTulio to get too far away, especially considering the fact that he is pretty much in a one-man fight with him. Connor Wagner, 2.9 seconds behind him.
On to Pine Avenue, one of the few places where you've got some elevation change. Was that a piece of car at the side of the track that I saw?
Yes, it was. Hugo Galaz had a big coming together with the 46 of Andy Spicer.
Let's see if we can find it here. I did hear Galaz on the radio seeming rather upset about something.
You can see it here. Spicer loses control. Galaz nowhere to go. Right there, and that's all the damage.
Almost looked like somebody ran into them afterwards as we cut away, and there's the damage on screen now. If we go back to 6th place, Fishman and Day, As Fishman just bonked the wall. We didn't quite see it, but coming off of the hairpin, he was in a hurry. I think he's gotten away without any damage from it, but he's taken it right to the edge.
Certainly has, Joe, and it looks like that Day had to check up behind him, so that certainly slowed down Raymond. A lot more speed looked like through that first corner. But these guys now have to be careful because there's another train that's starting to close in behind them. That's Frank Nguyen, Alex Fournier, and Julio Palacio. They're only about a second and a half back.
We've also got a lapped car in there, Neil Alexander, hoping to stay out of the way. But right now, he's holding pace amongst them. And Alexander made a bit of a mistake there. You see him in the black car. Is he going to stay to the side and let Nguyen through? Yes, all three of them managing to put him a lap down. Nicely done by Neil.
Very good sportsmanship, something we've come to expect here out of the Precision Racing League. But I think that's going to set up... Nope, Palacio just thinking about a move there on Fournier.
As this has been happening, Holland has continued to chop away at DiTullio's lead. It's down to 0.3 of a second. This is actually the closest I think he's been on the front stretch. Look at the weaving from DiTullio, trying to run a defensive line and keep him from attacking. I just saw Herbino head into pit lane. I'll check on that in a second, see if that's scheduled or not. But David Holland appears to be the most consistently fast, even though DiTullio holds that fastest lap right now.
And Joe, I've got to say, watching DiTullio through the fountain section there, I really think he is starting to feel some pressure. You saw him take a lot of curb there. Car looked very, very squirrely. So I think DiTullio really feeling Holland breathing down his neck here.
This is definitely not scheduled for Herbino. 15 seconds. Actually, no, well, it was scheduled, but his front wing got replaced. So that's what we mentioned a little bit earlier. So that's why he had a long stop as we watch from on board Holland trailing DiTullio. Last time, he got a good tow, but he wasn't close enough. Can he do it better this time? Look at him right on top of it. May have even brushed the wall coming off of the final turn as they pick up pace. It's 0.4 of a second, now 0.3 of a second. 145 miles an hour coming around the gentle curve of Shoreline Drive. Hitting the brakes, though, it's not long enough.
No, and I've got to say, I think both of them may have given a little kiss to the wall there coming off of turn one. Doesn't look like there's too much damage on the car, but what I was saying, a lot of drivers taking the curbing a little more aggressively than I would expect coming out of the hairpin, and I think that's causing the wheels to spin a little bit, and that's why we're not seeing as much overtaking.
I'm sure Holland would not like me to bring it up again because we certainly brought it up enough last season. But he was among those that wrecked out from the lead, or at least the fight from the lead last season when they opened here at Long Beach. And those two look like they are pushing at 10/10 here today. I would not be surprised if we saw a repeat and drivers take each other out just pushing too hard.
I could very, very much see it. Frankly, see a situation like we saw with Spicer and Galaz, maybe. DiTullio makes a mistake, and it leaves Holland nowhere to go, so they both got to be very careful. But, Joe, this is the closest I think Holland has been coming off of that hairpin. Let's see if he's able to get the draft a little bit more here. That gap coming down ever so slightly. No, he's lifting. He's lifting.
Ooh. Now, they do have a scheduled pit stop, but this is not a track that you typically consider a very good fuel-saving track, or at least, you know, for drafting. Oh, way too much curb, and there's the mistake. DiTullio, did he hit the wall or did he keep it out of there? Whatever the case, Holland is going to be able to get through with a lot more ease than he may be expected.
Let's jump back and check out a replay of this, Joe. You can see DiTullio. He did
it's
not
this corner.
hit it
It's
there.
this corner.
No,
Ooh.
he didn't. He just got a big bounce over the curb, was able to keep it off the wall, so he can still try to attack Holland here. No damage that we can tell on that car.
That was a big hop. I almost think all four wheels left the ground at one point, and that's all she wrote for Holland to be able to scream on past. Now he ran down Alessandro, excuse me, to be able to pass him. So I would expect to be able to run away, Or will we see the 20 be able to find some pace and keep the pressure on?
Well, he was able to take that gap down by about 0.2 of a second over the course of the straightaway. So now it's just down to Alessandro to keep this nice and smooth through the twisty section of the track and try to take advantage of the draft when he can.
Almost think he's going to have to hope for a mistake right back to be able to make that pass as they put another lap on David A. Bear. Looks like we are now halfway through the race. Will we see any takers early on, or is everybody going to try and run them all the way to fumes? Up in our lead of the AM class, Dave Peterson still retains that top spot, but Joey Haynes has been running very good laps here. And in fact, I wonder if we could get a lap comparison between them, as this should tell the tale, the numbers don't lie, on whether or not he is looking like he's got the pace to catch them. As,
there you go.
Yeah, there it is. Oh, yeah. Oh, goodness. Very consistently quicker these last 3 laps. As we hop on board, Peterson's going to have to start hustling, but Haynes will certainly have a heck of a job under his belt here to try and manage to get past him once he does get to that gearbox.
He will indeed. A little bit of a squirrely exit there off of the hairpin. You can see that allows for Peterson to pull away ever so slightly. Haynes may be working with a little bit more downforce here, but still just clawing that time in slowly but surely. Gap hovering just under and just at now as they start to break a half a second.
Both Peterson and Haynes have made up the same amount of positions since the start. They're up by 8, it looks like. Peterson from 21st to 13th, and Haynes from 22nd to 14th. So,
yeah. I was going to say, there you can see to the left just how much some of the drivers in the back have really made up, courtesy of some of the incidents that we've had. One in particular that I want to bring credit to is Brett Barrett, who is up a whopping 20 positions.
So there we see Barrett now on screen, working his way down through the fountains section up to 21st. He may have been one of the few that elected not to qualify, rather. Let me check on that. Yeah, he did not qualify, and he spins, hands off a few spots, but thankfully nobody was coming up behind him. So the number 32 will be able to continue without taking damage, and Joey Haynes is in the pits.
All right, so there we go. The first of the pit stops trying to come in here. Now we ride on board with, I believe this is Wagner, as he works his way around. There he goes, working his way around some lap traffic.
So Haynes is in. Broomhead is also in. It looks like he is Joey's teammate, so this must be a team plan amongst them. Already Haynes is out 7 seconds, so he managed to avoid damage like some of the other drivers have accrued.
Exactly. There you see Broomhead coming in as well, the 00 choosing to come in. Now, what a lot of these guys are doing, Joe, as you said, it's not exactly a track where you can save fuel, but if you've got a spotter that can keep an eye on a track map, or you're able to have a third eye to see where other cars are on track, you can gauge where you want to come out and try to avoid traffic. And we jump back up to the lead. This is getting very hairy with some lap cars.
Unfortunately, I've always been third eye blind, but up here, they've got Joey Haynes, who we just know took a pit stop, and DeTulio has caught up because of them being checked up behind the 99.
He has indeed, and this may give him a little bit of a shot here if he's able to do it. Now, let's see. This is that turn onto Seaside. Is anybody, both of them cut the corner a whole lot?
Something happened to Menino. Oh, Menino came across a spun car of Michael Broomhead, and I think he managed to escape without damage. This will be a great onboard from the 3. It happens out of the fountain section. Oh, no, he did take damage because he parked it and had to take a tow.
All right, so that's Broomhead right ahead of him, coming out of the fountain. Everything looks okay here, making that turn. Oh, big jump of the curb, and oh, I don't know if he caught Broomhead there or not, or what happened.
Oh yeah, there's if you look at the left rear tire,
yep,
it was definitely off. So he must have
DeTulio
just
is back
clipped.
in the lead, Joe. DeTulio got past Dave Holland going into turn 1.
Let's take a look at the replay as the 20 looks like he just got a good old run down the straight and then outbraked him into the corner. Textbook move.
And as we jump back live, he's got to be very careful. That's Tyler Scarali ahead of him. Big checkup from him into the Tecate turn. That's going to give, I think... Oh, that's Holland into the tires!
David Holland with a hard thwack. How much damage does he have? Let's watch from on board. He did hit the tires, so it should be a little softer than just straight into the concrete.
Just trying to give as much room as possible. It looked like the wing may have had a little bit of a twitch there, but Holland is coming in.
Ooh, now if he has to replace that wing again, this will cost him a lot of time. So, kind of don't blame him for coming in, though. And no idea what he's got underneath him. And if he does have damage, this should hopefully at least get it repaired pretty quickly. As we're getting closer to the end of the pit window. Finds his stall. No tires, it looks like, for the number 18, and he's off very quickly. No wing change. He got away lucky.
All right, so no damage to that car at all. Now it's just going to be a matter where he comes out. If he's able to come out with a little bit of clean traffic, or clean track in front of him, that can really, really help. Looks like we're going to do that, but here is DeTulio right now. Let's see what he can do now that he's got clean air in front as well.
Well, for reference, Herbino, well, actually, no, we can't use that for reference because Herbino was 10 seconds longer in the pits, even though he's already taken his stop. So he's going to be far back. Looks like Peterson has pit, and that was in a fight with Joey Haynes. Haynes is coming around turn 10. There he is right there. I think Peterson's going to be clear, but it is a long ways before he hit the cones.
It is. You can see just how long they have to wait to get up to speed. It's so frustrating as a driver. Peterson coming by the start-finish right there.
No, that's Haynes going by the start-finish. Peterson is now out. Yeah, he is well clear of Haynes. So no problem on that one. DeTulio does not pit, but Wagner does. So does Fishman and Nguyen.
All right, so a lot of varying strategy taking place here today, and very interesting. I'm seeing most of the drivers electing to take tires. Not always something we see in these races, but Connor Wagner there definitely choosing to do so.
So we're waiting on very few left to take their stop. Gonzalo Munoz, one of the farther down, David Hebert, but up at the front, DeTulio, Fournier, and Palacio, extending it as far as possible. Wagner back out. Is still behind David Holland. Holland's had a lightning pit stop. So did David Fishman. Holy goodness. The 455 had a 4-second pit stop. He must have short fueled that thing like no other. I'm not sure if this is a good call.
I would be very, very scared if I was David Fishman's crew chief right now. We're going to jump up to our leader, DeTulio, who has come into the pits, Joe.
DeTulio finally says, I need some fuel. Looking for his pit stall. Does Fournier follow him? Yes, he does. So does Palacio. That's everybody in that case. So David Holland, who was in the fight with DeTulio, now comes up to the final hairpin. DeTulio takes off now. Don't think this is going to be good enough, though. Holland was faster in his stall by about 1.5 seconds. Alessandro looking for those cones. He's passed. He's now on the accelerator, trying to get up to speed. Holland flies towards him, but as they come to the first corner, DeTulio's got it covered.
He does indeed, and Ethan Oring right up there ahead. That was part of the reason that he got slowed down ever so slightly. Holland did. He's going to want to try to get by Oring. Oh, so frustrating here. There's nowhere for Oring to let him by there. When he finally gets a moment, pulls off to the side, and now it's full attack mode for David Holland.
In fact, we are down to only 16 cars left on the lead lap, and this is legitimate since all the pit stops are done. This is absolutely stunning, and I think Frank Nguyen must have had an issue. One of our top 5 in the points just took a tow. Looks like, oh, it involved Palacio, actually. He overshot the corner, and Palacio ran right into him. Both of them, unfortunately, out.
Oh, no. As we watch it here, you can see that is Nguyen in the purple and black machine coming down the main straightaway right now, and that will be Palacio ahead of him. So let's watch and see as this develops. Palacio coming out of the pits right now.
I mean, this is just the absolute worst timing. He unless he had a 3-monitor setup, he would have been completely blind to this incident. No idea that it would be erupting right there. So as we come back live, the gap now between our leaders is 1.3 seconds. DeTulio ahead, and Ovando instead is our closest fight amongst the top 10. For 9th spot, this is Ovando trying to fend off McLaughlin.
That gold-spangled machine there from McLaughlin trying to get the good run out of the hairpin like we've seen guys do all day long. Gap is only about 0.4 of a second between these two. McLaughlin looks like a little bit of fade to the inside, seeing if he can get anything doing there, but not enough to make it work through turn 1.
Still keeping the pressure on. Down through the fountain section. Very hot into there for Ovando, having to catch the car. Obviously making a few mistakes, but he has to make them in a spot that Owen can try and capitalize.
He can, but he's got to be careful. You can make an opportunistic move down here into this left-hander, but I don't think that Owen is going to be close enough to pull it off there.
Onto the back stretch. He'll need an almighty exit to make this one open up an opportunity, and no, it's not going to be for the 90. Just a little bit too far back. We're down to all of 10 laps to go.
We are indeed. You can see McLaughlin just trying to throw that car basically where his rival is not. Rear tire catches a little bit more of that curbing coming off the hairpin. That may slow him down a little bit, and indeed, gap is about where it was last time around at about 4.5 seconds, cuts it down to 3.6.
He's looking a lot closer this time. Ovando thinks so too. He goes defensive, coming down into the first corner, then back to the racing line once more. The 90 still making him think twice. And I'm sure McLaughlin will have to hustle, have to really push hard because the laps are dwindling away. He doesn't have many left to try and get an overtake in. Ooh, he's very close here, coming off of 5. Down into 6. It's tough to make that pass, and he's not even going to stick his nose out. They've got some traffic. This is Barry Cochran. That could be what the doctor ordered for Owens.
It could indeed. Doesn't look like it slows down Ovando too much coming on to Seaside Way, though. But a good tow again here from McLaughlin. Only about 0.3 of a second. Not enough to make the move, but more lap traffic in front. That's a bear and a cord in a battle of their own.
Down to about 35 or so cars left, trying to figure out exactly how many there are, as they're going to go by a little bit more traffic. David Hebert going to stay out of the way in pits now. Ooh, this is very close, though. Owen might be the closest we've seen him yet. Down to about 2 car lengths. Reeling it in, and he runs out of track once more.
Does, and I think this may be a situation where he's just hoping for a mistake. We've seen guys take some opportunistic moves, making a bit of a dive there going down into that first corner, but McLaughlin here not really wanting to throw away some surefire points.
Around and back on the shoreline once again as they work their way through turn 6. Is there any more traffic in front? They've got Tyler Gore up next. They might get him before the end of this race. Otherwise, this is looking like it's going to be on McLaughlin to try and make it stick. So we ride on board with Ovando, looking back. And this just goes to show how close you can be and yet still not be able to do anything with it.
It's one of the most frustrating things about Long Beach, Joe. It is such a delight to go around in hot lap and to just get absolutely perfectly lap after lap. It really gives you a sense of reward. But when you start racing on this circuit, there is nothing more frustrating in the world than being stuck behind another car and just not having that extra, say, 20 meters of straightaway that you need to get a pass accomplished.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to work for Ovanda this time either. Oh, and Wagner. Oh, no, Connor Wagner in the wall. The 51 has taken damage. Where did this happen? This has been quite a... Oh, this happened in the first corner. So he has been just limping this thing around. The second car we've seen attempting it. And I think, once again, distracted by drivers exiting pit lane, which, I mean, they're allowed to do that. They have to go somewhere.
Exactly. This is down on Connor Wagner. Ultimately, it is his mistake. A little bit of lap traffic to the left, eyeing up in front of him to see if he can get by. Goes in. Oh, just overcooks it right into the barriers.
Yeah, saw that car exiting. That must have distracted him even more. And somehow, with half the car missing, he got the thing around and into pit lane. But 7 laps, I don't think he's going to be able to get any sort of repairs that'll get him on to the track. Now we take a glance at McDonald's. Mark up from 16th, running 7th, seeing if he can try and challenge Alex Fournier.
Now, we've really had some drivers rise up through the field quite well here today. Mark McDonald, obviously of Rust Team Racing, they're trying to get something on Fournier. He's got a gap of about 0.7 of a second right now, but he's been slowly trying to chip this in over the course of the last several laps.
Let's stay here and see if he can continue to close this down. But, you know, I'm looking at our time and in scoring, I can't help but think that Christoph Herbeno's got to be kicking himself. Because remember, he had that extra long pit stop to replace his front wing. That cost him about 10 seconds, and he's about 15 seconds behind David Holland. He would have been a lot closer to DeTulio and Holland if it were not for that mistake that he made that cost him a little bit of damage.
Most certainly, Joe. You know, Herbeno, one of the more experienced drivers we've seen here in across disciplines in the PRL. Very, very good, always known for not making a whole lot of mistakes, and it just goes to show you that this Long Beach street circuit can catch out even the most seasoned of drivers.
Down through the fountain section, Alex trying to stay cool in that 316 as the cars take over those tall curbs. Can't go too far to the inside. We already saw it bite one driver and hand over the lead temporarily, at least, until DeTulio was able to fight back and get back into the front. Now back onto the back stretch, this pair goes off of Pine. And Alex, with a great exit, will keep himself out of reach of the 216.
Yeah, really, really good job there for Fournier to just get the power down exactly when it needs to. No wheel spin. Good lines there, coming through the Firestone turn and through the Indy left. He goes into the hairpin. He's been running a very smart line here. Oh, but he gets very slowed down. That's a bear in front of him who was trying to get out of the way.
Is this going to be enough? This could be an opportunity for McDonald's. I don't think he's close enough. We're watching from on board the Rust Racing driver. He is going to reel him in. The slipstream will help. But, yep, there's the braking. And that's not going to do it. By the way, just another note, Dave Peterson, our AM leader, is in 10th overall.
It's a really, really good result for Dave and a great showing here from all these AM drivers. They currently run 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and 16th.
Well, today was so much more about survival, and we kind of knew that coming in. Can Fournier survive Mark McDonald's attacks all the way to the checkered flag with 5 laps to go? Now 4 laps to go when they come by this time. Mark much closer, but it's not a very long stretch up there. And then, as he once again gets right on top of that gearbox, looks for the exit off of the hairpin. Oh, he gets the throttle down very well. This is only 0.2 of a second. I think this might do it.
I think it might too, Joe. McDonald coming on with a full head of steam. Slowly moves his way to the inside of turn 1. He's going to have to be later on the brakes, and indeed, late on the brakes, get through the corner. He's got it.
Mark McDonald now up to 6. 10-spot gain for that 216. That's something to be proud of at a track like this. Someone locked up a little bit there, coming through the corner. That might have been Takeshi Kita in front of them. Oh, and Rafael Ovando losing positions. This is one of our first drivers to take to the runoff. Oh, but he's actually going to make contact with McLaughlin. Big contact here.
Oh. Just misjudged the braking zone there with McLaughlin. Took out his left front, McLaughlin's rear there, but able to, as you said, use that runoff area to his benefit and get it wound back up and at least going back around the track.
Peterson gets promoted to 8th because of that now. 2 more cars behind him. Haynes up to 9th for first and second there in the AM class. Fantastic stuff for those two. So instead of the leaders taking each other out this time, this race, it's been mainly those in the mid-pack that have kind of been tripping over one another.
Yeah, they certainly have. There goes DeTulio, and there goes Holland right now. The gap pretty much stabilized at about a second. I think DeTulio had it up to about a second and a half a couple of laps ago, but courtesy of some lap traffic, Holland's been able to haul in about 0.5 of a second.
DeTulio only has to survive 2 more laps, holding on to the lead. He does have lap traffic up ahead. Scarali is there, Matthew Gunderson. So he's going to have to navigate this. He's going to have to hope that they're willing to jump out of the way so he doesn't lose time in the more technical portions. There you can see the 15 just in front. Scarali not caught yet. He's not obligated to pull over even when he does get the blue flags. They're informational only, but the drivers do want to be polite to one another usually.
Yeah, they certainly do. There is a definite code of ethics that these guys follow here. And so now he's really coming up behind Scarelli, seeing if he's going to do it. He's not going to get out of the way there. That's going to slow up DeTulio ever so slightly.
Pulls off to the side. There we go. So as soon as he got to that rear wing, he lets DeTulio go. Both of them go. Holland now passed. But still, the gap remains at about 0.9 of a second. Matthew Gunderson next, but this is a question mark of whether or not they catch that number 33. He's actually running in 22nd right now, and that's up from a starting position of 31st.
That's been a pretty good run here from Matthew. I think, depending on what happens here, they better hope they catch Matthew on the straightaway, as if they catch him in the fountain section, that's going to cause a whole headache for DeTulio as they cross the line to take the white flag.
Doesn't look like they're going to catch him here, but I don't think they're going to get him in the fountain section either. He's got a fair bit of a gap to them. DeTulio closes in down through the first corner, now into the fountain section. Oh, he's being closed up big time through here. They look to be much better on the brakes as they come out back onto shoreline. Is he going to be willing to pull off? Yes, there he goes. So DeTulio gets clear track once more.
And that was a big, scary moment for David Holland coming out of that section. He was in a full skid across the track, but able to recover it and not, frankly, lose too much time.
The white flag out onto the back stretch, and he hits the wall. David Holland, I think he'll be able to limp it home in second place, but he was giving it everything, and everything, unfortunately, cost him a potential victory in the end. So, as they come around the final hairpin, DeTulio is going to strike back with his first win since the opening round. Victory for the number 20 in California as Holland finishes in second. Herbino going to come home in third to complete the podium, a bit distant off. Not a perfect race, but still a chance to spray the champagne.
Exactly, and a very good recovery drive from him, but we check back here on David Fishman and Raymond Day. This is the battle for fourth right now. One last shot for Raymond Day to try to get this.
incredibly, we're down to 9 drivers left on the lead lap. So many of them have been put a lap down here today. Looking to see if we've got any more battles coming up behind them. And it looks like, unfortunately, many have been spread out. I see Colander and Oring fighting for some of our AM spots, but I think Colander is going to be able to snag that one, which will be about 6th in the AM class. And here's Joey Haynes as he cycles through right behind Peterson for the AM lead. Peterson takes the win for that class. Haynes behind by about a second. Wrapping up our finishers. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. So don't go away. Welcome back to Long Beach, and once again, Alessandro Di Tullio is on the top step for the PRL Indy Pro 2000 Series. His second win of the season over David Holland, who took second. A couple times into the wall there for David, making things very, very close, but he brought it home less than a second behind Alex. Christoph Urbano rounded out your podium with David Fishman finishing in 4th and Raymond Day in P5. Mark McDonald up from 16th to claim 6th. He was ahead of Alex Fournier in 7th. It was Dave Peterson who won in the AM class, 8th overall. Joey Haynes not too far behind, 2nd at his AM class as well, finishing 9th. The first car lap down was Aaron Roos, rounding out the AM podium in 10th.
In 11th was Sean Duhamel, followed by Takeshi Kita, who had a monster run through the field, up 21 positions, as did Donald Olson, up 24 positions to come home in 13th. Nicholas Colander was behind them in 14th, followed by Ethan Oring and Tyler Gore. Brett Barrett was 17th, followed by Rafael Ovando, Barry Cochran, and Sebastian Merrier.
Then it was Brett Accord in 21st, and Matthew Gunderson 3 laps down, 22nd. Tyler Scaralli 23rd, and Kevin Norris in 24th. Usually we'd be talking about DNFs, but no, this is just such a short lap that 25th, James Doherty 3 laps down, a Bear 26th, and McLaughlin 27th. Then you've got Connor Wagner 28th, Adam Ray 29th, and 30th went to Neil Alexander.
In 31st position was Gonzalo Munoz, followed by Hugo Galaz, Frank Nguyen, Julio Palacio, Andy Spicer, and these are all drivers that suffered some major damage, by the way. Ethan Lampa, Dave Menino, Michael Brewhead, Nick Horvath, and Christopher Richards.
That takes us to our second place finisher, David Holland, who has joined us. And David, congratulations on a podium. Not a win, though. Briefly, you held the lead. It looked like for both you and Alex, it was mistakes that made the deciding factor.
Yeah, hey, Joe. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. That's about what you can expect here at Long Beach. So, yeah, overall, just happy to make it out alive and with a podium.
And that's obviously the first time he's been able to beat you since the first round. So that'll bring that championship a little bit back together. Heading back to next week, though, we go from a track where we don't see much in the way of the effect of the draft over to Daytona Road. Do you see that as basically a crapshoot, or do you think you can manage to get away from everybody?
Oh, man, in these cars, I think it's going to be a crapshoot. I think it's going to be fun. I don't know. It's a weird combo. We'll see how it plays out. I'm kind of looking forward to it, though, just as something a little bit different for an open wheel car than what I'm used to. So I think it'll be fun. You know, here there was basically no draft. It's going to be a little bit different over there for sure.
We did see it touch the wall at the very last lap, it looked like, coming onto the backstretch. How much did it hurt the car, or was it just fine after that?
It was fine. I think it rattled me more than it rattled the car. If you're talking about the last lap touch, that was just me pushing, giving everything I had to try and get up close to him and give him a run to the line. But actually kind of mid-race, I got mixed up there with the lap car, and I touched the wall pretty hard. We're not going to call it a touch. I smacked it pretty good. And yeah, it took me a little while to kind of settle back into my groove after that.
Yeah, we kind of figured it was you pushing at the end. Well, I guess you got to break a few eggs if you want to make an omelet du fromage. But congratulations. And who do you want to thank for today's podium?
Yeah, thanks. As always, got to thank the team, Delta Sports, and all the team sponsors, Move Up Transportation Solutions, Freedom USA, Race Factory, Unified for Kids, Get Stuck, Driven Texas, and Extreme Sim Racing. I also want to thank the league, PRL, and you guys at GSRC. Thanks, all.
That was David Holland with second. And up next, DJ's caught up with Dave Peterson, up from 21st to 8th with that AM win.
Yeah, Dave, it looked like just keeping it off the wall there did you wonders today, but made some good moves, sliced and diced, and you came home with not only a top 10, but able to get that win in the AM class. That's got to feel good.
Yeah, I told you guys, 2 weeks ago that I love street courses. So, I mean, it was a little crazy. I was worried about qualifying. My teammates, we worked pretty hard at qualifying this week. Shout out to them. They all did really good as far as gains in the overall. So, but we worked on it this week, and the goal was to try and qualify well enough to be past the hairpin before the race started. And I made it, and I believe Sean did. And I just got to run up the front straight, and I took it 3 wide into 1. I mean, I backed out early, but hopefully I didn't make anybody mad, but it all worked out. So, and then at the fountain, I just got lucky. I'm not going to lie. That was just pure luck. So.
Well, I have some friends of mine that always say that you make your own luck, and I'd say, piling it around like this is always pretty good. But so once the race sort of got going and got underway, then after qualifying, were you in full attack mode, or were you just kind of laying back a little bit and letting the race come to you?
Maybe a little bit of both, honestly. It's weird running mixed like this because you don't actually know where you're at. And I mean, even at the end, I had an idea that if I was 8th overall, I was probably in first, but with the chaos in the beginning, you don't really know where everybody is as far as the AM drivers go. So you're not sure whether you're leading the race or not. And, so yeah, I mean, yeah, there was points that I kind of attacked, and then I would have a little bit of a close call, and then I'd say, all right, let's back it off a notch. And, there at the end, when I was pretty sure I was leading, I had a pretty good pit stop. I debated on whether to take tires or not, and I decided to go ahead and take them. And then I got back out, and I came out with a little bit of a lead over Joey. and we had been kind of duking it out before the pits. And then he kept me honest the rest of the race. So it was getting a little bit slippery out there. So I started kind of backing off a little bit, and he started reeling me in. So I was like, well, I got to go. And even down at the end, I mean, he made a heck of a run at it. I mean, he got it down to within a second, I think, at the end. So, yeah, he kept me honest. He ran a good race.
Well, we go from a tight, twisty street circuit to the mother of all super speedways next week, running Daytona Road. Obviously, completely different setup and preparation for it, but how do you think you and the team can fare out there?
We have a lot of experience running endurance races there. So, I mean, as far as like track layout, we should be very comfortable with that. I could say I have not turned a lap at that track in this car. So, it'll be interesting, but we've run the LMP2 car there quite a bit in the 24-hour and so forth. So we're all familiar with the track, and we do pretty well at keeping our noses clean. So, Kevin or Don's really good at that. He'll start near the back, and then he just kind of quietly works his way up. And next thing you know, he's in the top 15. So I think he went from 34th to 14th or something today. So.
Yeah, it looks like we had him come in at 13th, actually, up 24 spots.
Yeah.
But Dave, really great run today, man. Anybody you'd like to thank for this M-Class win?
Just once again, just my teammates, really. I mean, I lost my dad this year, so it's been a little bit bittersweet that I found my stride, because he didn't get out and do much. And so I had hooked him up with the broadcast, and he loved this. He thought it was the greatest thing in the world, because he likes real life road racing, and he thought this was awesome that there was announcers and everything. So, it's a little bittersweet that he's not here to hear me getting interviewed, but but yeah, as far as thanks go, yeah, just my teammates again. I mean, I have a great time with them, and, we practice together and help each other out. So.
Well, thank you, Dave, and congratulations again on this M-Class win. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you, guys.
And now to wrap it up, Joe Peak has caught up with Mark McDonald.
Indeed, and Mark also had an impressive feat of going from 16th to 6th, but even more impressive considering you had significant contact with the wall that we didn't get to show on the broadcast from early in the race. What did the car feel any different after that?
Joe, hey man, fantastic being here in California. Really appreciate you guys joining us here right by the beach. Gorgeous sunshine out here, just having a fine day of racing. I did make a little love tap on the wall. I was like, hey, wall, you need a little bit of love. And so I got real up close to it, and man, it bit a little bit harder than I expected a couple of times. So yeah, I'm surprised that my car wasn't trashed.
Well, it sounds like you're certainly California dreaming already, but what did you do then to get yourself up to 6? Was that all attrition, or did you manage some overtakes along the way?
Yeah, I took a don't crash into stuff approach. Honestly, this race was very weird. It felt like an endurance race because there was so much traffic and just navigating, back markers. And you'd catch up 2 seconds to the guys in front, and then you lose 2 seconds with a back marker, with a slap into the wall. And so it was a real odd race. I had one real I thought excellent pass on Alex right near the end there to go from 7th to 6th, and I appreciate he gave me plenty of space going into turn 1, probably assuming I was just going to crash into the barriers, which I almost did. And so I had one real good, like, yeah, that was a good pass. But everything else was people having issues. I'd be behind somebody and they'd touch the wall and then they'd pull into the pits. So just a ton of attrition and people having issues along the way.
It's obviously a much better result than 35th, but what are your feelings? Does this one feel like an improvement, since I know there was a lot of people who were a little bit irked after last round?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this one. I mean, the starting 16th and like that qualifying lap was literally the last lap under the checkered flag of qualifying too. So I just barely got into 16th and then managed to skirt around the outside of that water fountain incident that unfortunately took out Steve Verde, my teammate. But just managed to kind of get around the outside of that. And then, just hung in there throughout the entire race, had a couple of issues, but was always kind of pushing. And just with the attrition, really after the pit stops, I was just thrilled that, it was up in the top 10. And then a couple of people had some issues, unfortunately for them, but, I'll take any position I can get and end up sixth, which is like my average finishing position. So I felt pretty good. I did feel like the driving from everyone was a lot cleaner, I think, in this race. Ironically, people have issues and make mistakes in street courses, but ironically, the racing is a lot cleaner because everyone knows that any wrong wheel will just destroy your race.
Well, it gave us some fun to watch regardless. And Mark, congratulations on a top 10, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you more like that in a week's time.
I appreciate it, Joe, and just a shout out to Greg Seitzall, thinking about him still. Appreciate it.
And that was Mark McDonald with a sixth today, which is going to close us out. So, of course, we want to thank our sponsors for this series, including Simulation Motorsports Affinity. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net. And NinjaTrader. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. And Butt Kicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media through the outlets listed at the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like to support the channel, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. Link is in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing channel. The next race at Daytona Road takes place Thursday, May 6th at 9 p.m. Eastern, but we also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.